let's continue where we left off. The rumors say it was her own pet who killed them. See, she traveled from her world to Earth in this huge red space ark. In it, she had gathered thousands of creatures from her planet, I'm guessing to save them from extinction. This, more than anything, has led me to speculate that some cataclysm happened on her home world, and she moved on to greener pastures to rebuild her empire. She bred all these creatures in secret, increasing their numbers, preparing for her eventual takeover. Each monster, or the lusus naturae, was meant to be a kind of caretaker of the young. You can see where the dramatic schism between our species and hers begins, and also why she had a reputation for being quite insane. But she also happens to have this one humongous sea monster, Lucis, that's like her own personal bodyguard, and kind of a secret weapon. But it turns out the thing is kind of an enigma, sort of a double-edged eldritch horror, as much in her service as it is calling the shots in some unfathomable way. Each time she tried to resurrect her race, it would slaughter them all psychically, as if it was keeping her ambition in check. Or so the story goes. Wait, these beasts tend to the young? I can tell you from first-hand experience that monsters are totally rotten at taking care of kids. They do a bang-up job of making them scared, though. Exactly. The plan was beyond shitty. So, does that mean you and Rox were raised by these things? Nope. It was a very short-lived experiment centuries ago. Humans just don't have the evolutionary symbiosis with those things that her race had. It turns out a bunch of fucking alien monsters have no interest whatsoever in taking care of human babies. They mostly just wound up eating them, or at best, abandoning them. Later, she instated a Lucidroid system to serve the same function, as she began phasing in more robotic solutions in favor of all this ill-conceived biotech nonsense that always did nothing but backfire. Even drones were replaced with robotic versions. I imagine they were just easier to produce and control, since she'd given up hope of perfectly mirroring her own civilization in all its convoluted symbiotic glory, but not without a good fight, and not without taking her frustrations out on the human population. She attempted to enforce blood casting through efforts to genetically alter people's blood color. This was an ugly chapter. A lot of fucking people died from that debacle. Over the last 400 years, the population just got smaller and smaller from these atrocities piling up. But she clearly didn't give a shit. All the while, the amount of dry land kept shrinking due to the gradual flooding. Soon there was hardly anywhere left to live, and then that was that. No more people. Damn, wait, flooding? Oh yeah, I probably should have mentioned this up front. One of the first things she did while in power was begin melting the ice caps. It took a while, but eventually the whole world flooded. That's how it is now. It's totally soaked up in this bitch. Wow, like the epic Kevin Costner film? Almost exactly, especially by the same degree of shittiness. Oh man, does that mean you have to drink your own piss? You get used to the taste. Welcome it even. That takes about 15 days in a row of hard piss drinking though. Ew, dude, no, ugh. Relax, I don't drink any goddamn piss, okay? Oh, okay, whew. I guess your Lucis droid thingy sees to it that you have fresh water? Nope. Those stopped being a thing a long time ago too, once humans went extinct. Oh, I thought, who raised you then? Nobody. Nobody, man. I raised my own damn self. Jesus, Christopher Kringlefucker, and here I thought I was rugged. You're still pretty rugged. You're just a fucking dork about it. That's true. I guess I did have Cal looking after me. Let's not discount the rad service of the Seaman, okay? Heaven forbid. And what about Roxy? Pretty sure the Carapacians took care of her when she was young. Wait, the what's-its? Right, another thing I forgot to mention. There are a lot of these humanoid creatures with hard shells, some black, some white. As humanity was dwindling due to an increasingly whimsical and psychopathic Condess, she began introducing more of these Carapacians onto the scene. Are they aliens too? Sort of. They're definitely from other planets, so yeah, really the deal with where they come from is a whole other story for another time. But the bottom line is at some point, somehow, she started herding a bunch of them from their homeworlds onto Earth and multiplying them. Something like 100 years ago, it became clear she favored these guys more than humans as her subjects. They're very loyal and seem genuinely dedicated to serving her. Must be what they were bred for. She still treats them like shit though, unsurprisingly. All these colonies started sprouting up, like these modular cities floating on the water. It probably sounds cooler than it is, but they're basically slums. That's where they tend to live in large numbers. Roxy lives in one of these colonies. It's about 2,000 miles from where I am. Good gravy, those are exotic circumstances. And here I was thinking I had the most exciting and adventurous life. It turns out I'm just some chump on boring-ass Monster Island in the silly old pre-apocalypse. For what it's worth, I think it's got to be more interesting living in the 21st century than the 25th. Like, it's really no contest. You're probably right. I'd be really keen on talking to Roxy about this too. I'm very curious about her experience as a future lady with all the whatsits, the hard shell folk. I must say, it turns my previous perception of your lives right on its friggin' ear. Man, she'd love to talk to you all about all this. She hates keeping secrets. It's been killing her not to spill all these fucking beans way the hell prematurely. Like, what is even your day-to-day business like in See Hitler's water apocalypse? Well, I mostly sit around in my apartment all day, building stuff, reading about history, and flipping out with my sword. Sometimes I go fishing and check out the underwater ruins. She has plenty of useless fucking around too, but at least she's got a neighborhood. She also uses one of her gadgets to gank vegetables and stuff from the past. She tries to feed the hungry neighbors whatever she can scrounge up. Rogue of Void. Those are amazing stories. I'm so lucky to have friends like you. Oh snap, what about Jane? Have you told her? Jane is... No, I haven't. I've dropped some hints and tested her willingness to believe something like this. It's just not going to fly. It's way too much to drop on somebody all at once, if they aren't receptive. True, but it seems a shame to keep her out of the loop. Well, tell her whatever you want. She'll likely think she's being fucked with. Personally, I wouldn't bother trying too hard to convince her. There's no point in alienating her. Someday she'll be ready to believe things. Okay, wow, I still have so many questions. It's incredible that this is all going to happen right around the corner. I don't know if I'm ready. Like I said, the changes will be a little more gradual than that, more clandestine. She'll exploit the fear caused by her revelation to the world to create intended reactions within governments and media. And her agents, embedded on the inside, will help nudge things in the direction she wants. Then, 20-some years down the road, without anyone suspecting a thing, she'll suddenly be in complete control, and Earth will be fucked. I want to join the opposition. Fuck this witch. I have lots of guns and reckless bravado, and I want to stop her. I'll pick up where my grandma left off. Well, aside from the main reasons that won't happen, which I won't get into, it still wouldn't be a good idea. Oh shit, why not? Because people way better at this than you tried, and they're all dead. You said you wanted to hear about our ancestors, right? Heck yes, bro. Well, how much do you actually know about your grandma? What have you read? What do you remember? My memory of her is pretty foggy. I do know she loved adventures just like me. That's why she was exploring this island and raising me here when she died. She was a fair markswoman and knew her way around an atom or two. Pretty sure her company made a tidy fortune till it went belly up. At least I still have a few of her knickknacks for keepsakes. And as you confirmed, she was raised by that evil spinster. But then again, from some of the things my pen pal has said, kind of throws some of those details into question, so I don't know what to think. I don't know what the deal is with your pen pal either, and I'm not really prepared to speculate on that right now. But I'm privy to a shitload of historical data I can share. What's the last thing you remember about her? It was the night I found her dead. She'd gone off to the ruins, to study the ruins one day. I'm pretty sure that was her purpose on this island, to study the technology here and solve all the astonishing mysteries. She even built that big fancy house we used to live in, so I guess she really wanted to settle here for a while. But she didn't come home from her expedition for a couple of days, so I started to get worried. I followed the trail and we usually take to the lagoon while keeping my eyes peeled for monsters, but instead I found her lying there dead. I think a monster caught her off guard. There were 3 big fang marks in the body, and a trail of blood along the path. It looked like she was trying to get home but couldn't make it before succumbing to the injury. But before I could do anything about it, I heard an explosion. I looked back at the hill and my house was gone. Just a big poof of smoke where it was standing, so I lived alone in the jungle ever since. I've wondered about all that. Well, you never asked. Oh, I know, I would have, but asking about your past would have just been inviting you to do the same. You know how it goes. Indeed. But for the record, I don't think those are fang marks on the body, dude. No? Finish the story. Then what happened? No, there's not much to it. I had to deal with Grandma's body. I would have loved to give her a proper and dignified memorial like Jane's granddad gone. God, Jane's so lucky. Every day in her household must be like a weekend at Bernie's. What a ride it must be. I'm so jealous. Yeah, what a fucking treat. A living room corpse party every goddamn day. I know, right? Alas, I had to dispose of the body with haste so the monsters wouldn't eat her. So I just made a little campfire and burned it. I keep the ashes deep in the ruins, which is where I think she liked it best. Hopefully there isn't an earthquake or something that would knock the urn over in a predictable and hilarious fashion. No way, man. I'd bet my bottom boonbuck that shit's eternally safe. That urn's like Fort Knox of standing upright forever, because of no accidents. Yeah. So then after camping out the next day, I went exploring and found my room globe mostly intact sitting in the jungle, so that's where I live ever since. And that's pretty much it. I sure miss my grandma, though. She was the best. She was definitely very brave. The stories are true. Downright audacious, I'd say. Well, what did you hear? Well, like I said, she was raised by the Baroness. It was probably a worse childhood than either of us had. She wasn't related, obviously. Ain't nobody's related to a damn fish alien, except for other fish aliens, probably. She had an adoptive brother, too. Life must have been miserable for both of them. Yes, I vaguely remember her mentioning him. Quite the thing she told me now that I think about it. She said the witch even killed her dog. Is that true? I don't know, but I wouldn't doubt it. There are other urban legends that she did a lot of experiments on animals and people, mostly to do with mind control, like figuring out ways to unlock all her psychic alien potential to increase her power. I'm not sure if that's true, or if it was actually successful, though. So what you're saying is pretty much any unspeakably horrible thing she could have done, she probably did. Yeah. Anyway, your grandma managed to run away when she was quite young. Maybe it was a traumatic event like a dog murder that prompted her to flee, who knows. Whatever the case, her bro stayed behind. The guy must have been seriously immune to witnessing fucked up shit, because he went on to be a famous comedian, a real kindly old cornball, a nicer guy you couldn't ever hope to meet, that they say. Huh, wow, must have been a hell of a guy. So you're not making any connections there. Where? Huh? Famous comedian, about the age of your grandma, inheriting the family name of the Baroness? Not ringing a bell? What are you talking about? Dirk, stop speaking in riddles, and keep telling the story. I'm on the tenterhooks here. Okay, well, it's not like it's that important. Just a super obvious thing that'll probably occur to you later when you're looking in the fridge you don't have, at which point you'll feel like an idiot. Oh my god, you can be one opaque motherfucker. Just clue me in, bro. Nah, it'll be funnier this way. Strider! Moving on. Oh, Jesus Christ. That kid kept the family name, but obviously your grandma didn't. She must have held a grudge against the Baroness her whole life. She started by taking a different name she knew would stick in her craw. Oh, I remember this. I believe she said the witch used to be married to a terrible man named English. So because the witch really hated that guy, she took on his name as sort of a big old fuck you to the woman. It's probably close to the truth, but it sounds like the kind of story an old lady tells her young grandson in a way he can understand. Or at least wouldn't scare the shit out of him. What I've read is something much more sinister, as usual. There's supposedly only one thing the Baroness fears, and your grandma learned of this somehow. It wasn't an ex-husband, though. It's her superior. Some kind of demon, or another alien? No one really knows, but he went by the name English. He's supposedly even more brutal than she is, if you can believe that. So I'm named after a demon? What kind of demon is named English anyway? What kind of alien is named Crocker? Probably just a name he stole from someone else, like the Baroness did. I guess it's kind of cool being named after a demon who's so scary even the witch is afraid of him. Yeah, well, your grandma thought so. Everything she did in life thereafter seemed to be an effort to piss off the Batter Witch, like starting a competing tech company, heavily branded in a way that was presumably intended to remind the Baroness of her boss, like with skulls and garish colors and shit. The dude is some kind of skull monster, I guess. Oh, I love skulls. I know. Holy shit. Welcome to Hobywood. It was definitely brave on her part, but ultimately it got her a bankrupt company, a blown-up house, and a fork through the torso for her trouble. But she must have been the first to understand how dangerous the Baroness was, while acting in covert opposition. Others would follow, and continue to as of now, in your time period. These are your ancestors. Yeah, mine and Roxy's were among them. Anyone I've heard of? Of course. All these fuckers are totally famous, obviously. Oh, sure, obviously. We've talked about the guy I'm genetically derived from a lot, actually. Like, you know, every time I've talked about my bro? Gadzooks, of course! With all your future mindfuckery, you made me completely forget about your vaunted Hollywood sibling. I should have asked where he fit into the picture if you were raised alone. I can be as dumb as a bag of penny candy sometimes. Sometimes. Other times you're on point, like a bag of the nickel shit. Whoa, now those are sweets kept in reserve for millionaires. Such flattery. Okay, what we're saying stop meaning anything, so I'll continue. Right, so then he was never actually your bro. No, that's just kind of how I view him. Lalonde took a more maternal view of her ancestor. The lady who wrote all the dreary wizard books, I presume? Yeah, The Complacency of the Learned series. Ever read it? No, I tried. It's too depressing, and also kind of impossible to understand. I told Roxy I liked it, though. I didn't want to hurt her feelings, so I don't say I said that. I think I'll wait for the movies to come out. I bet I like those better. You don't say. I do say. Hey, you must have seen them, what we're being in the future. Are they any good? They are not. Phooey to that, like I even believe you. The books are pretty interesting, though, if somewhat dense. They're supposedly heavily allegorical, veiled representations of cosmic events surrounding the witch and her boss and how all this came about. It's the kind of thing you wouldn't pick up on unless you were someone who understood what happened, like the Condens, which was kind of the point. I think it was her way of letting the witch know, I'm on to you. In the early days of the resistance movement, they both opposed her more indirectly through their art, like critics of tyrannical governments often used to. They had to be careful, didn't want to make big waves too early. My bro did this too with many fine films. Practically everything was a symbol for something, either in mockery of the battered witch or conveying some hidden message to its audience. Each film was always rigorously picked apart for its head-scratching symbolic meaning, but he managed to accomplish all of this without ever compromising the purity of his ironic vision, which I think was admirable. Fuck yes, the Sweet Bro and Helijeff films rule! Screw the haters, that's what I say! You also say that about Weekend at Bernie's. Man, that is a scandalous mischaracterization. Nobody hates Weekend at Bernie's. The Weekend at Bernie's films are generally regarded as so unremarkably mediocre, they don't even attract any trolls who care enough to shit on it. Believe me, I've tried to get in debates with people about this. Yeah, you pretty much touche the fuck out of that. But we were definitely in agreement about my bro's films, as the master strokes they were. He just kept cranking them out, too. He really stepped up production after 11-11-11, even though the cat was finally out of the bag. He was very dedicated to his craft. Dang, I can't really wait to see them. Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath about that. Why not? Man, fuck it, I'll just send you them. What? Just keep a lid on this. We don't need any weird causality shit rearing its head here. That'd be really dumb. I'll guard each glistening compression artifact with my life, as if a jewel pilfered from a tomb. Which was the last you saw? Well, there was Spaj the Mavavi, and Spaj the film. Oh yeah, and Spahaj the Moval. I think Spaj the Moav is still in production, right? But honestly, I get confused with which particular misspelling is attributed to which film, or even if I'm getting the misspellings right. The key to sorting it all is to understand it doesn't actually matter. Through video streaming services, you would frequently set it up so that buying a certain title would ship you the wrong film, and often titles from movies were available for sale that just straight up didn't exist, or would be sold for dollar amounts that made no sense, like 2.890.1, and sometimes buying a download would actually deposit money into your account instead of deducting from it. It was all part of the experience. Your forebears are certainly entrepreneurial, if nothing else. I can get behind the idea of making a killing if it means I also get to be good at doing adventures as I hope to be. Did they ever bring back the battle to the witch's doorstep, or where the blows dealt strictly through public masquerades and theatrics? Yeah, they got pretty deep into this shit eventually. They were both very skilled combatants. I'm pretty sure she had some weird powers too. Powers, you say? Communion with occult forces, something like that? She knew things, had visions. It's why she was able to write those books, and more importantly, why Roxy and I were able to survive out here. How? They knew we would be here someday, so they prepared for our arrival. I live in what used to be my bro's old apartment 400 years ago. The whole city is gone, but this one unit was somehow protected. He left some supplies for me here, like a lifetime supply of orange soda in the crawl space, along with a fuck ton of Sweet Bro and Helijeff merch. It was like discovering my own personal holocaust of bulbous jutting bottoms, plus some weapons, some other gear, and a killer pair of shades. Roxy's mom used to live in her place too, and left some stuff she might need lying around. This was before there were Carapacian colonies, though. I think her house must have been a kind of kernelized structure, like a potential colony? Something built to undergo modular self-replication if activated. I'm sure her mom knew that. It's been a good way for Rox to blend in. I stick out like a sore thumb here, of course, but it hasn't really been a problem yet. So they knew you would show up in the future someday and prepared for that. Doesn't that mean they also knew they weren't going to be able to stop the witch? Probably, but they went down fighting anyway. Wow, that's brave and kind of sad. Yeah, but wouldn't you? Of course! You always go down guns blazing. That's what a hero does when he loves adventure and has guns. If there's one thing movies have taught me besides the fact that guys using a corpse as a silly puppet is freaking hilarious, it's that exact fact. It's not like their rebellion was totally futile. They took a lot of shitheads down with them. Who? Sympathizers. Ugh, just the thought of such scoundrels turns my stomach. They should. In order for you to understand, I'll have to fill you in on the ridiculous final gasps of human civilization, taking place over several decades leading up to absolute enslavement. The decades which immediately followed the rebranding. What did Guy Fieri ever do that was wrong? You know, being cringe is just a crime, I guess. As I mentioned, Crocker Corp's rebranding on 3/11, as it was often referred to in the news, totally changed everything. It marked the beginning of a completely shameless downward spiral of Western civilization, through a series of events that were probably hard to notice at the time, but quite glaring when evaluated historically. Though the Baroness made her few substantive gestures of aggression, the global fear of her looming threat would trigger all the changes she needed. Governments prepared for war, as if to defend against the invading alien army she undoubtedly commanded. But of course she had no army. She was always the only of her kind. Instead, the world powers were only set about to build her armies for her. The media deteriorated into this preposterous circus that was in all practical ways inseparable from the power base and government institutions. Popular entertainers became dangerous demagogues, and their roles in the media blurred with those of executive authority, and the most dangerous were the ones who fed into the fear and hysteria most effectively. They tended to be plants, unscrupulous shills paid by the Baroness to move her agenda forward. Dang, I'd like to think that I would not be suckered by their silvery tongues whenever they came along. Well, the thing is, most of them are already on the scene in your time. Who? Ever heard of Guy Fieri? No, I don't think so. You're fortunate, then. He was an especially degenerate piece of filth. He used his connections and guile to wriggle into the spotlight, and then on the other positions of power. He somehow landed on the U.S. Supreme Court. Over the years, other justices started mysteriously disappearing without being replaced. After helping rewrite the Constitution to form an incomprehensible patchwork of fascism, theocratic mandates, recipes, and had bad rap lyrics, he weaseled his way up the ranks to become the High Chaplain of Interstellar War. I'm just gonna cut to the chase, because really this ain't a big history lesson here. He eventually came to be regarded as the third and final Antichrist. No other human in history was responsible for more death and suffering. Jesus Christ. No! No! No, the ICP are evil now. That boorish cur. Yeah, that's exactly the phrase I would use to describe someone responsible for the extermination of 5 billion people. It was just so uncivilized of him. How could such an atrocity be allowed to happen? Was his personal magnetism really that overwhelming? Maybe overwhelming in the wrong direction, yeah. But it didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual decline in the integrity of the system that allowed it. Eventually, the wheels came off and the political scene mirrored the absurdity of the media circus. By the time Presidents Jay and Dope were elected, Western civilization had officially fucked itself over forever, and I think everyone knew it. Oh no, when does this happen? 2024, the last free election the world would ever see. Well, so like they were on the ticket together as president and vice president? No, man. They're both the president. They were the first dual presidents of the United States of America, also the last. They were also the first and last juggalo presidents. The founding fathers warned us about this, but nobody listened. They did? Warned us of what exactly? The mirthful executives. George Washington had prophetic nightmares about them. He tried to warn people and get language amended to the Constitution to prevent it, like forbidding the election of what he famously described as a pair of salty bards, or unruly jesters given to the sweet drink. But everyone just thought he toked too hard on the colonial cannabis or whatever. I'm not sure I follow. These are like clown presidents or something? Yes, they were shitty rap duo from your time, but they ran a hell of a campaign. By then, the Juggalo Party had gotten huge, while the numerous other candidates split the moderate vote. They retained a very energized and devoted base. You could say their party had a big tent. Dirk, I really dislike the future you're describing. Hey, me too. They were swept into office on a wave of Fago, and the presidential inaugurations was the biggest gathering of the Juggalos of all time. They all hosed each other down on the White House lawn with shitty soda. The D.C. and the Capitol thereafter officially stood for Dark Carnival. Of course, their campaign was helped considerably by having the support of the Baroness. In retrospect, people developed the impression that it was all a part of her sick sense of humor. There was the sense that she had just loved the idea of delegating the extreme subjugation of the world's population to a pair of demented clown rappers. Some have speculated this was just another way she was attempting to resurrect her previous model of governance. Though this seems kind of far-fetched to me. Who the fuck ever heard of Alien Juggalo? To me, this is as stupid as the crackpot theories get. Well... Oh, Jesus Christ. I still don't know what a juggalo is. Do they juggle? Don't worry about it. People were less prepared for a double juggalo presidency than they ever imagined. I'm not even gonna... Hey. Adult Dave. I'm not even going to get into all the horrifying details. Trust me, just start feeling dirty reading about it. From the moment Fieri held up a Bible to swear them in, and the three of them proceeded to publicly defecate on it while freestyling rap lyrics. That was it. Everyone in the world watching it on TV just said, well, show's over. Civilization was pretty cool while it lasted. The next several grueling terms of their presidency was a weird combination of authoritarian practices. The Baroness used it as a puppet regime, while still basically giving them carte blanche to carry out their idiotic whims. Fago was pumped through the plumbing instead of tap water. The new national pastime was having type 2 diabetes, and the national anthem was replaced by a 3-minute high-reverb audio clip of President J farting into a microphone while laughing. Chaplain Fieri was authorized to set up death camps, in which anyone on the planet could be imprisoned if they were not deemed sufficiently mirthful. And so the cleansing began, priming humanity for its new ruler waiting in the wings. This was when our ancestors had enough. The resistance movement had failed, but they could at least bring the war criminals to justice. My bro finally caught up with the presidents and challenged them to a duel. They accepted, having for years regarded him as a cocky rival rapper who failed to show them the proper respect. In their arrogance, they invited him into the foul belly of the carnival, believing they could teach him once and for all what it truly meant to be down with the clown. For centuries thereafter, survivor of the Holocaust would cite the rooftop showdown as one of the most heroic moments in human history. He killed them both. Unfortunately, as they were only figureheads, no liberation followed. There would be no parades in the streets, or statues cast, or medals awarded. The few witnesses would report seeing only a man with a sword on a shitty skateboard, gently rising into the night sky. No one ever saw him again. Meanwhile, Roxy's mom was tracking down High Chaplain. His crimes had already been committed. She couldn't repay them by any stretch of the imagination, but she could wipe the bloody stained grin off that fat bastard's face. She gouged his eyes out with a pair of knitting needles and rode his torso to the bottom of the bloody falls. Reports of what happened to our ancestors after that are sketchy. There were no eyewitnesses' accounts I've found, but some believe they were regrouped and confronted the Condens herself, with all her high-ranking officers dead, and the human population decimated and sufficiently groomed for her arrival. There was no reason to stay behind the scenes anymore. After those dreadful years of putting up with some more vulgar brand of authoritarianism, when she finally stepped forward to claim her throne, it actually came off as somewhat dignified, elegant in a way. She was no less severe, but at least she knew how to act like an empress. Oh god. But even if they did manage to confront her, there was no way they could win. She has too many crazy alien powers. Her boss supposedly jacked her power level through the roof. I even heard, and don't quote me on this, that she may have been over 9,000. Heavens to Betsy, that figure is just absurd. Okay, so she's using Aradia's telekinesis to throw the fucking shitty Statue of Liberty, and then Tavros' communion to control a dragon and the G-Cat. I'm sorry, guys. You're just fucked. Yeah, and that's not even to speak of the generic smorgasbord of other powers she's rumored to have. It gets hard to separate the fact from the urban myth, but for reference, if you want to believe it all, just picture all the X-Men combined to one sexy fishwoman in a skin-tight suit. Oh, mama. Oh. Whatever actually went down, they're surely both dead now. I guess it had to happen like that, though. There's no way the Condens would allow us to be born within even a century of our genetic forebears. The thought of that was completely disgusting to her, but I really would have liked to be able to meet them. I guess some things would have just been too awesome to ever stand a chance of happening. Yeah, I know the feeling. Wait, what? Dirk, didn't you tell me at some point that you did find evidence the witch killed them? As of now, no. Are you sure? I swear I remember you saying something about that. How could I have said anything like that before today? This was obviously the first time I mentioned any of this. I'm just having the nuttiest deja vu thing going on right now. I feel weird. I guess I'm mistaken. Never mind. Okay, I'll disregard your anomalous observation for now, and continue conversing as if it never happened. Right. Good plan. Anywho, that's a heck of a tragic and thrilling tale, Dirk. I'm still totally cockeyed and catawampus about it all. I don't even know what to think. But you do believe me, right? Yeah, oh yeah, every word of it. Wow. Why shouldn't I? You're my friend, and I trust you. I still just think it's impressive is all. Even after all this, You're pretty much a one-of-a-kind dude. Heh, not really. I just like believing stuff and believing in people. Wait, what do you mean? About what? When you said after all this time. You just told me this now. Yeah? Hang on. Ugh, the deja vu shit's happening again. Okay, I'm sure we've had this conversation before. So many things are familiar. I remember you saying this one-of-a-kind dude thing, and I remember saying the word catawampus and all of it. What's going on? Took you long enough to figure it out. Pages really are a slow-burning class, damn. Figure what out? That you're asleep. Oh, that's right. I fell off the platform thing, and I guess I got knocked out. Yep. It's a dream bubble. What's that? A place in the infinite abyss where sleeping people can share dreams with each other while revisiting memories. Also where they can meet dead people. We're sharing a dream together? And you're currently asleep too? Currently in the future? No, even if I was, I wouldn't visit a dream bubble. That only happens when your dream self is dead, like yours is. Mine is not. Huh. Well, I guess I understand. So what's the deal then? Wait, you said this is where they meet dead people too. Shit, Dirk, are you dead? Are you a ghost? No, dude, chill, I'm fine. Then what the fuck is going on? Who am I talking to? Well, who are the people you talk to when you have a regular dream? What? Like, just a boring, normal dream. But there's a person there you're talking to. Who is that? I don't know. It's nobody. Just a projection of your own mind. Dream bubbles don't always need to be shared by dreamers or dead people. You can go to sleep and wake up in one alone, reliving an old memory. Kind of like a normal dream, until you remember it's just a memory, which is where we are now. Okay, so I'm having this, like a lucid dreamy thing in a magic bubble and you're just a figment of my imagination? Yeah, basically. So I'm talking to myself. That's kind of stupid. Well, yeah, but not quite. You could view me as a projection of the real Dirk within your mind, as expressed through all of your thought patterns about him. So I'm kind of a splinter of his corporeal self who happens to live in your awareness. I'm startlingly close to approximation to the real thing, for all intents and purposes. Just how startlingly close are we talking? I'm not going to give you a bogus percentage like the glasses, because that's not my shtick, but I'm pretty damn close. Okay, that's fair, but man, there's something that feels kind of weird about this. You being in my head, it's a little messed up. What's messed up about it? You were the one who put me here, with your intimate understanding of all his mannerisms and predilections. In a splintered existence is pretty much how he rolls. This is how shit is, bro. Okay, I'm sorry for saying it's messed up, but it's still a bit frustrating. I've been trying to talk to you all day, but all I get is your pesky responder bedeviling me at every turn, and your friggin' robot punching me across the ocean and then throwing a weird tantrum and ripping his nuclear heart out in front of me. And if that weren't enough, I tumbled off the doohickey, knocked myself out, and now I'm strolling down memory lane with your fake brain ghost. It's like you're surrounding me from all sides with imitations of yourself, but never the real you. Cheese and fucking crackers. When do I just get to talk to the actual Dirk? Jake, what do you even know about someone's actual self? What makes it actual? What is actuality? What a horseshitty question. I don't know anything about actuality, I guess, but I know some philosoph babble horseshit when I dad blasted hear it. I'm just saying, this isn't really your field of expertise. Dirk is the heart guy. He's the one walking the path of self, even when he doesn't know it, like right now. What does that mean? How can you really be made of only my thoughts when I don't even know what you're talking about sometimes? Or when I don't know some of the things you're telling me, like about being in a dream bubble? How can I tell myself about stuff through the brain ghost Dirk? Who says you don't know these things on some level? I don't think I do. I have no business knowing these things. Pages have a lot of untapped potential. That's practically all there is to the class, actually. But when they eventually find it, look out. And the ones who deal in hope? Shit, man. I'm scared of you already. And I'm not even real.